Alright everyone, here we are with ticker symbol SNDL, Sundial Growers Inc. And before we jump into this chart, I want to say welcome to all the first time viewers and investors. Welcome to the channel, Invest for Tomorrow. To all the subscribers, welcome back, and let's jump into this chart. So we're below the 50-day moving average. It keeps breaking through support levels. It broke slightly to today's support level, right? It didn't go much lower significantly. And that's due to the fact that what we see here in the MACD, which is very interesting. Some of you may agree with what I'm about to talk about. Some of you may disagree. But this is one of the indicators I like to use. When you tie this up with many more indicators, it gives you a better insight. And this is really good for intra-trade. But it's also good to look at the history and also what it's doing to prepare and position itself if it continues in the route that it's going, right? So we're going to kind of break down the MACD in just a moment. And it doesn't always signify or guarantee what I'm going to talk about. So it's not like because I say it or because I see it here in the MACD or because the graph seems to show it, it's going to happen that way. But most likely when these indicators cross and they show these signs and you put them together, they're indicating something. That's why they're indicators. But you have to watch it closely. So the first thing is this indicator here, which is the closest one to the price, needs to be broken through slightly, and it has to sit on top of it. Like it's like right there fighting. If the bulls can kind of sit on top of it on the next, calculation once it draws itself, and then also the next bar graph pops up, then we're on to something here. Because every time it breaks through, there's a slight pickup. It goes up 1 cent or 2 cents, right? You can see it here as well. Once it breaks through it, it pushes itself up. Once it breaks through it, even though it kind of fell right back to it, it pushes itself up this way. Once it breaks through it, it pushes itself up. So it's one of those that is not perfect, but when you put that together, the S&P 500 index as well, to see overall market conditions and so forth, it's really good. But the S&P 500 index is to just know the overall market's behavior. But once you put the S&P 500 index there, that's good to look at too. You put this specific indicator, you put the 50-day moving average indicator, and you put the MACD together, you will have some type of sense of what's about to happen or what's creating itself to end up in this position. So right now, that indicator is in a tug of war, so there's uncertainty there. Okay, that's fine. The S&P 500 index is slightly down. The stock is slightly down. Okay, so there's a indirect correlation or direct correlation to the overall market. Okay, and then you go ahead and you look at the MACD. So when all of this started, it was already going into lighter green bars, and it was all red bars throughout the whole process. The dark green bar started here, and that's why it rose from about 43 cents to almost 44 and some change. And that was the highest that it brought itself, and it continued to go down. So the bears are still dominating right now, but the MACD is showing otherwise. Why? Because the bulls behind the scenes are bringing these lines up closer to the midway point. The closer they get to the midway point, the more of a chance that the bulls have to then break out and bring this up above it, and these green bars have to start off a staircase effect. So right now we have two staircases. Like it needs to do something similar to this, but much more significant and pushing itself up every single time, right? Like a true staircase, like upwards and higher every single time. It needs to go in that direction. Dark green bars. So that's going to be interesting, and excuse my terrible drawing. I always say that. I can't draw for anything. But I like to illustrate to give you guys an idea. It'll have to be much more significant, and it has to be a nice staircase like this one right here so that you can start to see that rise. And you can see the last time that happened, it went from 49 cents all the way up to 52. That's a 3-cent difference, and that's a big difference for this penny stock because this moves by the hundreds and thousands place. So it's already pulling itself up here, and the closer it gets to the midway point, the closer we're going to start to get to see this breakthrough resistance, probably get closer to the 50-day moving average, And once it crosses over the midway point, it will start to bring itself up to newer highs and new resistance levels. But we need to watch it closely because right now it looks like it's moving upwards as the stock is going downwards. So there could be a reversal if on Monday or the beginning of next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this trend continues. There's more darker green bars, and this blue and yellow line of the MACD indicator here continues to work its way up closer to the midway point and breaks through it into newer highs and new resistance levels, because every time it breaks through that midway point, you can see that that's where it was starting to bring itself back up. Once it broke through it, we saw those highs right here at this point from 48 all the way to 53. So I'm just saying, pay close attention to it. Doesn't signify that it's going to break through it. Doesn't signify that you're guaranteed, 3, 4, 5 cents per share. But this is a good indication that it's coming back because it's been holding itself up pretty well. And through the tug of war, it's been up and above and below the midway point, as you can see here. But significantly, the biggest drop was right now when it fell here in this area. And now it's already going back up and the stock is still going down. So it's like the MACD is showing preparation for a reversal and the stock is showing the opposite. So you might get kind of fogged up with what the stock is doing and not realize what's about to happen. So I want every single investor to be aware of it. Just because the MACD is showing that does not always mean, right? And that other closer indicator of a moving average does not always mean that there's going to be a reversal, but it is showing signs that it could get closer to a point where there will be a slight upward movement, whether it's 1 cent, 2 cent, 3, 4, 5 cents, according to what the MACD is showing and how it's working itself up. And the 50-day moving average is getting closer to the price significantly, which is making it easier for the bulls to reappear. So we're going to have to watch this one next week, early on next week, to see, because it can change. It can end up breaking significantly through support. And the MACD, as we saw, it's working its way back up in this form towards the midway point, right? Let's just say this line right here is the midway point, and it actually just falls right before it reaches it. And then we need to watch closely again, because that means that the reversal and the anticipation for the reversal is to come after that fall if the MACD starts to work its way back up. So right now, in the near term, the most significant resistance level way above the 50-day moving average in the current price is 48.41. That's one of the highest prices before this continued to fall, and I would really recommend paying close attention to it. And then these highs up here, right, before the whole entire significant fall that we've seen, 52.25, is just as important in the near term for the next coming weeks or month. But let's look at our new support and our new resistance so that we can pay close attention to these cues based off the chart and what's important for tomorrow and the next coming days. So let's go ahead and see here what Sndl is showing us based off the chart. Let's get this to the T. And let's look at our 50-day moving average first. The 50-day moving average is 45.05. Yeah, it's jumping around those even numbers, 04 and 06. But to be exact, it's 45.05. Super important point to break through for the bulls. But before breaking through it, to end up back in bullish territory, they need to break through resistance. So we're currently below it. We're in bearish territory. So let's look at our support. Our support is 42.11. If that gets broken through, this is a new low that we've seen. And if it gets broken through, this will be on its way to newer lows, newer support levels. And we need to watch this stock very closely, how it's acting on the chart and what's the behavior, right? Are the bulls trying to reappear? Are the bears just tearing it down significantly? These are the things we need to watch for and pay close attention to. Now, on the other hand, we have our resistance. This resistance is 44.81. If that gets broken through, it does not signify that the bulls have gained control. I want every single investor to be aware of that. This is just an indicator letting us investors know where this is heading, and it's building momentum from where it's at. It's currently at 42.84. If it reaches up towards it and breaks through it, it builds momentum to work that way, and it's working its way up closer to the 50-day moving average. But it needs to cross the 50-day moving average to end up back in bullish territory. So I want every single investor to know that this is just the beginning catalyst, if it gets turned into a support, for the bulls to continue to work their way up. And it's just an indicator for us investors to know where this is heading. But it does not guarantee that the bulls are getting back into bullish territory or gaining control over the chart. Once again, that resistance level is 44.81. As always, if you found this video helpful and informative, please do so and subscribe. Don't forget to click on the bell to turn on all notifications and not miss a single video that I post. Share this with your friends and community. And don't forget to hit the like button to let me know you watch this video. Thank you guys so much for watching.